Welcome back. I'm Chris Sikora, and I'm going to step you through exercise 17 on SolidWorks 2020. First of all, if you need to get to this instructional guide I have here, you can just go to the VERT as in Tom, AN as in Nancy, UX1.com. Don't forget the one in there. And then just find the instructional manuals page and SolidWorks Advanced. This lesson starts off on page 48. And what this involves is actually using equations. I wouldn't call them advanced equations. I have it in the book as that way because it was the advanced training guide, but it's not really an advanced equation. But you'll get to see some interesting stuff. Where this came from was years ago when I was a SolidWorks technical services manager for a VAR. A company came to me, and I used to make these too. They design clamshells, like you see here. These are those transparent boxes that you get for to-go orders and things like that for salads. And essentially, we had a discussion. I had this discussion with this customer, like, hey, is there any way to make an equation that where if we wanted to change this from an 8-inch to a 4-inch or whatever size, to have this stack of ribs, those are reinforcement ribs, update so that it doesn't give you an error message every time you change it, or if you make it larger, you don't have a giant gap. So that was the goal, to create an equation to drive this. So we'll start off with a very simple equation and then work from there. So let's start off, go to New, Part, and hit OK. And let's just do a sample part first here. Let's go to the front plane, start a sketch. And we'll actually go to corner rectangle. And from the origin, we'll just click and drag to the lower left. And let's go ahead and add a dimension right here. This is going to be 4 inches. And the next dimension is going to be 2. So here. Now we're going to make 1/4 of the enclosure, and then we're going to mirror it over once we have all the equations in place and the features. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and put in a sketch fillet. Or before we do that, actually, let's take a look at equations here. Let's say we want to go ahead and add one. I'm going to go to Insert, and actually, I'm sorry, it's under Tools, and find the little sigma symbol for equations. Go ahead and click on that. Now what you do is right here, we're going to click on Add an Equation, and this is for the dimensions. Let's say we want the 4-inch dimension. So we click on it, and then over here, we want it to be equal to, and usually I believe if you just hit Enter here, it puts the equal symbol in there, and then click after it. We want it to be equal to, and we'll put the parentheses. That's Shift 9, by the way. And then 2. And then we'll put in multiply, so your little asterisk, 2. So that 2-inch dimension is going to control this. So let's go ahead and close it. And then click on the Evaluates to, and you can see 4 inches. And you'll see a little sigma that's right there. So let's go ahead and hit OK. Now, be aware, once you do that, this dimension is controlling that dimension. All right. And oh, darn it, I exited too early there. Let's go ahead. Let me do that again. You'll get to see it anyhow. And you know what? I'll reverse it this time. So actually, those of you who are following along, don't worry. Actually, cancel out of it, and we'll put it in. I wanted the 4-inch dimension to have the control versus the 2-inch anyway. So let's do that. So under Tools, Equations. Oh, first make sure you're in the sketch. Double click. Tools, Equations. And inside here, we're going to make the 2. And then right in here, hit Enter. Click after it, after the equal symbol. And Shift 9, 4, so go ahead and click on that 4-inch dimension, and notice it gives the dimension name. And we'll put divided by 2 this time. Shift and 0, and then click over here. And so it should appear as 2. So whenever we change this box width, it'll automatically, so if we type in 6, it's going to make it 12. Or I should say, if we make it 12, it's going to make it 6. All right, let's go ahead and hit OK. And now that's in there. So if we wanted to test it, just go ahead and double click on the 4. Let's make it 5. Hit the green check and see how it updates it automatically. Let's go ahead and change it back to 4 and enter. So that's a very simple equation just between 2 dimensions. All right, let's now work on this further. Let's go to the sketch fillet, and we're going to go ahead and put in the radius here of 1 inch on this lower left corner and hit the green check and hit the green check again. Now we might actually want to change some of the names here like we learned in the last exercise. Click on, hit escape and click on this 1 inch arrow, and over here let's change it from D3 to radius. And that's so later on we could interpret our equation a little bit easier. It'll say like this time minus the radius equals this plus that, versus D1 minus D2 times the, that's just hard to interpret for someone else especially, let alone yourself if you've done this. Okay, let's go to features. We're going to extrude that now. Like I said, we're only making 1/4 here, and we want to extrude that 1.5 inches. And I say here, add 1 degree of draft when ready. Add it afterwards. Don't add it while you're extruding, because you want the back sides flat where the 2 dimensions are 4 and the 2. Everything else we're going to add a little bit of draft to make it more realistic, kind of. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and extrude that 1.5, and we'll extrude it backwards. So flip the direction, make it 1.5, hit enter, and hit the green check. Now, when we add the draft is going to be based off of this face here. So click on this face, and now go to draft up here. All right, the face is to draft. Rotate this and select, see this fillet? Select the fillet and the 2 faces attached to it. That's it. And we have it set to 1 degree. The arrow should be pointing up, so it's going to flare underneath the further it gets away from the arrowhead. Hit the green check. All right, now let's hit your space bar and go to, or go up right up here to, let's see, this little button here, and go to isometric. All right, so what we're looking at here, we actually want to get the back side. So this is the top, and let's rotate it around the back here. Select this face, start a sketch, and while we're on that face, so we flipped it around, remember, we're on the underside. If you get it wrong, it's going to be kind of funky. So draw a little circle at the end here, and let's make that 0.25. Let's just verify that with the, 0.25. And then we're going to extrude that up. Go to Features, Extrude Boss, flip the direction, and it's going to be 1.55. So it's going to be a little higher. We're adding a little detail to it just so it looks kind of like our box. We don't want to do the sweeps. That'd take too long in class. But 1.55. And let's add a degree of draft. So click on Draft and hit the green check. All right, now we want to pattern that across. So it's already selected for us because it's the last feature. You could click on it if you like. Sometimes it's select the light switch, so it might turn off, so just be careful. Make sure you have that selected. Let's go to linear pattern, and I believe we want 16 instances. Let's see here. Yep, 16 instances at 0.2 across this edge. So select this top edge here, put in 16, and 0.2 is the distance. And I pre-measured this so that the last one is dead center on that edge, because remember it's going to get mirrored over. So it will mirror over itself. So you're never going to have a blank there. Go ahead and hit the green check. And so we have that now. All right, at this point, we want to make sure we give some additional names. So let's right click on, let's see, annotations and show display annotations. Oh, show feature dimensions, sorry. Okay. Now, as we're looking in the book here, we're going to name these things just like you see here. Okay, so we've already named the radius. Oh, and to turn that on, don't forget, it's under View, Hide Show, Dimension Names. It's the D one there. And now what we want to do is match up these on the book. So we already have the radius called out. We want that rib, the rib copies. So if you roll underneath there, you'll see a 16 floating out there. Just drag that out so it's a little bit easier to see. Get that out of there. The 0.25, leave that there. Drag down the 0.2, 0. Okay, so let's first click on this extension line here of the 4-inch dimension and give that a new name. That's going to be the width. Hit the green check. The 0.20, now be careful, there's a 0.25. We don't need to touch that one. The 0.20, click on this line here. That is going to be the pattern distance. And these are actually what they are, if you haven't noticed that already. Okay, the 16, click on where it says just D1, or actually surround it. Drag it, there you go. Just click and hold it and drag it so we can change it versus changing the dimension. We just want to change the name. And so this is going to be rib copies. And we have one last item we have to put in, and it's a little, in the book as you can see here, this little X. Okay, it's 0.19-ish. And what that is, it's going to help us control our sketch. Now, you might want to enhance the brightness here. So for example, on Apply Scene, go to plain white so you can see this next dimension. Okay, now select this face, start a sketch, hit your space bar, go to the top view orientation. Now zoom up to the very first one you added and zoom up really close. Go to Smart Dimension and find this point here. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. We have to draw on the line. Go to the center line. My apologies. Okay, from that point there to this one here. Make sure you get the orange dots. And if you can see that, that's just to these little intersections here and here. Now that you have that, we could go to Smart Dimension and edit dimension. Just drag it straight down or straight up. Click. And it's going to give you this Make Dimension Driven question. Remember, this is just for an equation. And SolidWorks even leaves a little message. It doesn't error out, but it just warns you sometimes using this, you might have some issues. Just be aware. Because it's we're going to actually make the dimension driven. We're going to leave it driven, not driving. So it's not in control. It's just going to be added to our equation to enhance it. All right. So now that we have that, let's change the name. Click on this extension line here. And instead of D1, let's go ahead and add a name of X. Capital X is fine. Hit the green check. And hit rebuild. Okay, so now we have our X dimension there. You can drag that out a little bit more if you want to see it better. And zoom out a little bit like this so that you can see all the dimensions. And now we're going to start adding them to our box. So let's go to, first of all, save this. And this is going to be E17. All right. Now, like I said, zoom out a little bit because the equation editor is going to pop up here. So let's go to Tools, Equations, and underneath that first one we added, click over here. Now, I've never kept both of these on simultaneously. I don't expect there to be any issues, so but I can't imagine there would be, but sometimes there's unforeseen circumstances. But anyway, click on this equation down, this equation box down at the bottom. And in the book, I'm looking on page 52, and you can see here, we have two equations we're going to make. The first one is this one in black, and it's the rib copies is going to be equal to int, integer, and then shift 9, shift 9. Okay, so we're going to make this an integer. And the reason why, because the number of rib copies can't be, like each copy can't be like 0.75 of rib. SolidWorks wants the whole feature as a whole. It's not going to like slice off a little segment of it. So we have to convert it to an integer. Let's go ahead and click in here. And let me bring that back up again, sorry. Just so I can move it over here. I have it on my second screen. All right, so click in this box, and we're looking for rib copies. So hover over the text. When it turns orange, click. Right now over here, click in that box, hit enter, it gives you the equal, then you have to click after it. There's probably an easier way. I know I've tinkered with it before. All right, now we want integer, so go to functions, and you'll find integer, third one down the bottom, int. And it gives us two brackets, but click in between the two brackets and hit shift 9. And the next one we're going to add is going to be the width minus the radius. So find the 4, click on that, type in minus, and click on the radius. Don't try typing these in. I've had issues with that. Now I'm going to extend this out a little bit, just so I can see it better. I want to see the whole equation. Okay, so we've got is equal to int shift 9, which is parentheses, okay. The width minus the radius, and we're going to go ahead and close that. So shift 0, close bracket, and then that's divided by, so hit your divided by or / symbol, x. So go ahead and click on that x. And then we have the closed bracket. Now after the closed bracket, click, and we're going to have +1. Remember, because it's an integer, it could roll up, roll down. Okay, so once you have that, click in the box to the right of the green check. And it should equate to 16. Should be in good shape. Now, you'll get this little marker here. It's okay whenever sometimes this type of thing happens, causes a potential circular reference. It's okay. This one will work. But be aware sometimes you could have issues. All right, the next one now is the pattern distance is going to be equal to bracket width minus the radius again, close bracket, divided by the rib copies minus 1, close bracket. All right, so let's go ahead and select that. So the pattern distance, click on the text, make sure it turns orange first, click, and then over here you could hit enter. Oh, drat. Okay. We have to go back and edit that. Go to insert, tools, and go back to equations. All right, so we got to start over again with that one. My apologies. We got to click in the box, then we can hit enter so we get the equal symbol. All right, so once again, pattern distance. Make sure it turns orange. And then click in that box and hit enter. So, all right, we're going to have to do something a little different here. Let's go back to tools. Don't remember that happening before. That's all right. Part of learning. Okay, so pattern distance, and click in there. Let's do the equal symbol. Okay. It might put 2 equal symbols in there, so backspace. All right, and now this one is not an integer. Just put shift 9, and then it's the width, type in minus the radius again, because the reason why, look at the spans of our ribs, we have to remove that fillet because the overall width is 4, so we're removing that 1 inch. Shift 0, which brings close bracket, Now divided by shift 9, which is the parentheses again. And then this one's going to be the rib copies. So find rib copies, make sure it turns orange. And now minus 1. And then shift 0. All right, now click in this bracket. Now mind you, the first equation will work in many cases. I've seen where it actually seems to function just fine, but then it seems to blow out depending upon what you add. The second one helps with that, okay? So you might be able to try it with the first one and get a couple sizes, but just be aware this one helps. And it's not a perfect equation. Be aware. All right, so we have these two added now. We're ready to go ahead and hit OK. And now save. And now we're going to go ahead and mirror this across. So let's go to mirror. Mirror face. We'll first mirror across this face. And then the features to mirror. Make sure it's a body because there's a couple features in there. So bodies to mirror. Select the body. Hit the green check. Let's flip it around the back. Do the same again. Mirror the back side face. And bodies to mirror. Click on the body anywhere. Hit the green check. Okay. Save it one more time. Now, mind you, sometimes I've had it blow up if you miss something or it's not a perfect one, but let's try it. The 4 inches, right now we have an 8-inch wide box. Now let's say we want to go with something less than that. Change it to 3. Double click, change it to 3, and use this rebuild button here. The rebuild button, you'll actually see it update, and if you don't like it, you can cancel out without it losing anything. But anyway, you can see here, look at that. It closed it up. We don't see any intersections. We don't see any error messages. Let's try 6. Hit rebuild. Okay. So there you could see there's no gap. So the equation we used allows for that to update and change. And that pretty much concludes that exercise.